everyone, this is Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Today I want to show you how to change out your thermostat. Well, you have two thermostats on this one. And then your radiator hoses on a 2014 Nissan Altima. Now this will be good for the 5th generation Nissan Altimas. And that is for years 2013 through 2018. Now the first step, you see I've got this quite a bit torn apart already. What we want to start with is emptying out the radiator. And so what I did, I jacked up the passenger side near the front, and you want to make sure you do that safely and properly. Now there will be a hole in your skid guard, or your rock guard, and the bottom of the radiator is right through that hole. And so this is the front passenger side, and you'll see this little rubber screw, and it just has a Phillips head in it, and you go ahead and take it all the way out and set it aside, and it'll start dripping on you, and it won't drip very fast until you relieve the pressure up the top, where you put some air into the system, which would be just opening up your radiator cap, and just make sure your engine is cool when you do this. So when you open up your radiator cap, all your fluid will go down in to your drain pan. And so once your radiator is all drained, you want to take off your shroud, or your ducting that goes into your airbox. So that is what it looks like when it's on the vehicle. So to get this airbox ducting out, you'll want to go ahead and get a 10mm socket, take this bolt out, take this bolt out, and then just maneuver this out. And then you'll have your airbox to get out. Now there's two push-in tabs at the bottom. I can show that to you. So you have that push-in tab right there, and then you have this push-in tab, and then there's a hose at the bottom to disconnect. And then you want to be careful because you have your mass airflow sensor attached to the top of it. And then you'll want an 8mm socket to loosen up this hose clamp for the air ducting. And then you can maneuver this or just put it aside for now. And just be careful not to damage your wiring. What you can do is push these clips in on the airbox and then disconnect your mass airflow sensor, and that way you can just take this all the way out. Once you have your airbox set aside where you know it's not going to get damaged or fall on its own, you can go ahead and start taking off your radiator hoses. And all they are is clamps. You can use pliers or needle nose pliers and just squeeze them together. Pull them back far enough, that way they'll get off this lip here. And same with the one on the radiator. Squeeze them together like that, and that way they'll get off this outside lip. And then you also have a clamp here in the middle, and you'll want to slide those apart. Mine accidentally broke, so I'll have to order another one of those. But it just slips in, or you can take the clamp off with this 10mm bolt right here. And it's just a plastic clamp is all it is. Alright, once you get that radiator hose out, we can take one of the thermostat bolts, the set of bolts out. Now the bolts for the thermostat are going to be behind the exhaust manifold cover. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts to get out, and two of mine broke off. Must have been from the heat. They just started coming out and broke right off. So I only have two that I can put back once I get ready to put this back together, unless I want to try to get the end of these bolts out. So these are 12mm bolts. So those are both 12mm bolts. And then you may want to move your drip pan, so when you take this out, you may have a lot of seepage coming out of there. Pretty heavy duty. This one's a 82 Celsius thermostat. And you can see the top has the little jiggle pin in it, and then it has a regular seal around it. So I will show you the part number that I got. Now when you pull your second thermostat out, it's going to be back behind this housing right here. And there's going to be 1, 2, 3, one in the middle, and the fifth one's going to be on the back. So there's going to be 5 total 12mm bolts that you have to take out. And then your thermostat will be in this, I don't know if you can see that, but it'll be in this hole right here. And then when I took mine out, I don't know if it had an overheating problem in the past or not, but this is what came out of it. So I've never had any trouble with it being too cool or too hot. So I might just put this one back in it. Maybe change this O-ring or the seal around the outside of it. And this one says 95 degrees Celsius. Now as far as the 95 degree thermostat, I found an ASIN. And the part number is THN-001. And that would be for this one, this part right here, or this housing. And then the 82 degrees Celsius, or the 180 Fahrenheit, would be here. And that's this one here. The jiggle pin would go to the top. And I found a stamped. And that number, 14678 or 427-180. I'm going to go ahead and replace this thermostat here. And then I'll go ahead and remove this radiator hose and replace it. And as far as this one, you may or may not need gaskets to put it back together. I did get this gasket and this gasket. I don't think that will fit on there, but I could try to fit this one. Let's see if that one fits. This looks a little too small for it. Yeah, it's not going to fit. So I'll just go ahead and put this back in there. Because like I said, if it wasn't running great, I would put the thermostat in. But the way it's running, I don't have any issues with it. So I'm just going to leave it like it was. Now what I've read is to torque these to 12 to 14 foot-pounds if they're 12mm bolts. So if anybody gets different torque values, let me know or put it down in the comments. And then also, while you got all this off, if you have any of these hoses that are really spongy, now would be a time to replace them. While this is all exposed and open, most of these feel really firm, or all of them feel firm. So I'm not going to go ahead and replace them, but now would be the time while everything's out. So once you get your thermostat in and your 12mm bolts torqued, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the bottom radiator hose. Take that out. You can also put your air box back in. So it would be just a reversal of the removal. Go ahead and hook your hose up at the bottom. You can hook your ducting up and tighten that. And when those holes line up, you should be able to just push it right down and it'll lock in place. Back side here and put that 10mm bolt back in. And then don't forget to plug back in your sensor. And then if you took your clips out, just push your clips back in. Now to get your lower radiator hose out, you may need to take your bottom skid plate out. And so there's 5 bolts. There's one here. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then these clips you'll have to pop out also. So once all those are out, you should be able to remove this skid plate. Now to get these clips off, you'll want to just pry between the two, and the middle part should pop out or break off, one of the two, and then you may have to replace them. Let's see, like this one, the middle pops out and then you can pull the whole thing out. But like this one's been in a while. It doesn't want to pop out or come out at all, so you may have to just pry the whole thing out. So that one will have to be replaced. And we've got 2 more on the other side. And when you get those off, you might be able to get to your lower radiator hose. It looks like it's right in there. Now getting that bottom clamp off took about 20 minutes off camera, just because it's really not easy to get to. You got to get some pliers, even some needle nose pliers, in the right angle, and it's most likely on the top that you have to press together for that band clamp. And then once that clamp is off, you can go ahead and take your lower radiator hose out, or I should say spring clamp. And there are some zip ties in there, so you may have to cut some of these zip ties. and this is the lower hose right here. So you want to keep an eye on how this is attached to the thermostat housing. This hose is quite strong. Maybe I didn't need to replace it after all. And then you just want to inspect your thermostat housing, make sure it looks okay. Clean it up if there's any kind of dirt or debris in it or around it. Of course, slide everything off of the old one. Of course, this shroud is for heat, so you'll want to go ahead and transfer this shroud to the new one. And then if you have this lined up perfectly the way it was, you can go ahead and clamp this on, or just take it off and maneuver it. Or if you just want to leave it like this and get it all lined up, you can just slide it over too. So now we'll need to put the other clamp on. And that just slides over. Once we get the top and the bottom thermostat bolts torqued, we can go ahead and line up that bottom hose and put the hose clamp on, and then we can readjust this if we need to, and then put this hose clamp on. Well, as soon as you get your lower hose connected, and I put a new zip tie there, we can go ahead and cut the end of that zip tie, the extra piece off. I'll go ahead and got this clamp on here for the top of the radiator hose, for the lower radiator hose. Now before you put your top radiator hose back on, what you can do is take off your filler neck here, and there's just two clamps, one on one side, one on the other, and you can replace that hose that's down there. It's the filler neck to radiator hose. And it's just an 8mm bolt right here, and then this should come up, and then you can take the clamps off. And that part number, this is going to have to be trimmed down quite a bit, but it's 71638. It's a Daco. And then as far as that upper hose, it's a Gates 23348. Now to get the filler neck out, push the clamp together and push it down, and if you need to, pull this overflow hose out of the holders, and then you should be able to just twist the filler neck out. Set that aside, and then you're able to get that bottom hose, and the clamp should be at the bottom to grasp. Now these spring clamps have a lock when you open them all the way up, so you could try, once you get your hose off, put your clamp on first, and then try to slide your hose on to the fitting. And then see if you can get your clamp over your hose. And make sure you twist these off, because if you try to pull them off or yank them off, you could break off part of your radiator. So just be careful. Don't forget to put your drain plug in before you start filling up your radiator. Otherwise, all your fluid will just come out the bottom. Well, once you get your hoses back on, you can go ahead and fill it up with radiator fluid. Now what I'm using is a AISIN 50/50 mix, and it's the blue color. So you want to go ahead and just fill up your radiator and top it off as necessary as it heats up. And that should be about it. Now I would recommend, if you didn't buy new spring clamps, to get another size or a bigger size of spring clamps, because I fought for a long time, because this new radiator hose is a little bit thicker than the old one, and so I couldn't fit those old spring clamps over this hose and then onto the necks of each of the radiator neck here, or the filler neck, and then the thermostat housing. I couldn't put it over those two ends because the outside diameter of the hose was too thick. So if you don't get new ones, you might struggle with that. What I just decided to do was just do some band clamps, and hopefully those will last. I might still order some spring clamps, just bigger sizes, and that way I can replace these if I need to. And don't forget to put your airbox housing back in here. It's just 2 bolts, one here and then one here after you're done. And then of course your rock panel, or your rock guard panel on the bottom. Well, I hope this has been helpful. This has been Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Good luck on your next home or automotive project. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and check out the merchandise store at mikesdiy.net.